And that's why they're accumulating it, because they want to stay in power, but they're not going to tell you about it. They're going to do what they can by pushing down the price so that you think, oh, well, gold isn't really, even though it really did outperform pretty much everything last year. But still, why would you want it? No, you don't want it. So, but yeah, gold held it, it's invisible to them. They can't control it. They can only control through perception management how you think about it. But once you know the truth, they've lost you, like they've lost me. They can say anything you want. I know the truth, and I hold it in my vault.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Oh, it is.
Very powerful.
I mean, point 3. Gold has been proven to serve as an inflation hedge, although only over the long run. I would think that's what you would want it to be, over the long run. I mean, an inflation hedge over the short term, I mean, I don't see that as being a huge asset. But inflation hedge over the long run, how powerful is that? Lynette, your comment.
Well, that's absolutely true. And I think the reason why he probably said over the long run is, again, because the spot market is a contract, right? So they can create a whole bunch of gold that does not nor ever will exist. So in the short term, anything is possible, right? They can create, I mean, didn't you say, weren't we talking about a deficit in the physical market earlier? Well, if the spot markets, whether they're gold or silver, actually reflected the true deficit for gold or silver, the prices, if it was a true free market, would be a lot higher. So, and again, a rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency. Governments and central banks do not want you or I to know that the currency is failing. And the other piece that I would like to kind of throw in here, and that is, we all work. I mean, the reason why we have money to begin with is so that a society can specialize, and you have a farmer, you have a baker, you have a lawyer, etc. And so they needed a tool to make sure that you're always fairly paid for your labor. And that's why gold became the primary currency metal, because it's the only one that actually does it. So you have your gold and you're trading your labor for somebody else's labor, which is a fair exchange. But no matter when you use it, you will always be fairly paid for your labor, although not with the spot market. And by the way, the CBDCs, recently, I don't know when they changed this, but I could tell you I was very troubled when I saw it. I was preparing for some event, and I went in and looked at the functions of gold and at the treasury, because I wanted to, capture that image. And they removed the short-term store of value, because dollars, government money through inflation robs you of that. So it forces you to take risk so that you can maintain what you already worked for.
Yeah. Got it.
Have we ever known any government to do the best for the public? It's usually the best for themselves.
Exactly.
Point 4. I can believe it, but it's powerful stuff. Most importantly, it is widely recognised for its potential value in highly adverse scenarios. Wow. This is as if we don't have one right now. This is the so-called war chest value or tail risk hedging value of gold, which is difficult to capture in standard quantitative analyses. I mean, you couldn't tell the story any better, could you?
No, not at all. It's right on the mark.
He's telling us to buy this stuff right now.
Yes, he is, because a yield curve inversion, a global yield curve inversion just occurred. Do you know that has never happened since they began tracking the global yield curve? So this is the first time in history, and what that's telling us is that something extraordinarily nasty this way comes. And look at all the warnings we're getting about forced selling and market drops and corporate earnings and inflation and blah, blah, blah. It's because we're shifting systems. But this has proven to go through all of those calamities.
Correct. Yes.
Right? It's a key component of dynastic wealth, which is wealth that lasts in families at least 300 years. So yes, exactly. And we are in for it huge in 2023.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, like when people talk to me about cryptos, and I'm not positive or negative when it comes to cryptocurrencies, but I just say I don't have a good enough understanding of them, and that's probably because they have no history. For example, how well did Bitcoin function during World War I and II? How well did Bitcoin perform during the Great Depression? How well did it perform during the fall of the Roman Empire? It didn't, because it wasn't there. Gold has performed favourably on all of those occasions. It has, as mentioned, 5,000 years of monetary history. It never fails. I mean, this should be on the lips of every news reporter on the mainstream media. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, there's going to come a time where everyone says, why did you not tell me?
Yeah. Like saying those figures, Darryl, and we're talking about past history, past wars and whatever. Right now, I know we have a bit of a confrontation in the Ukraine, or if I have a look at the price of Bitcoin, it hasn't gone up, it's gone down. So I don't think it's in war times, it's not going to be much good at all. Not from the history of the war in Ukraine, Interesting.
Well, it is very interesting. And let's kind of put another interesting layer on it, because honestly, like you, Darryl, I don't have a positive or a negative. I mean, I do know that we're going into some form of cryptocurrencies and probably the CBDCs. But what if all of these cryptocurrencies were created to get the population comfortable enough to adopt a CBDC? Mm-hmm. What if it was never really intended to be a long-term piece, just a short-term piece, which if introduced by the government would probably have people going, no. But if it's introduced by a private entity, people go, got a lot of visibility, still gets a lot of visibility, whether it's positive or negative, it gets a lot of visibility. It gets a lot of eyes. And I can't speak for Australia, but a recent report that I read said that 16% of the US population has bought and sold cryptocurrencies, right? That's more than on gold by a wide margin. So they do have adoption. And what if what's happening is about showing private cryptocurrencies bad, government central bank cryptocurrencies good, because there are reports that are coming out that are doing just that from the IMF and I think even the BIS, right?